Well, it'll take a few months for a decision, but a case in front of the Supreme Court now could impact how cities across the country, including Colorado and Denver, handle homeless encampments. The case comes from a small town in Oregon. It tried to block people from sleeping and camping in public places. The issue here is whether its laws violate constitutional protections against cruel and unusual punishment. Basically, this case would decide whether local governments can enforce laws against people sleeping outside when there is no place for them to go. Cities and states across the country are keeping a close eye on this case. So are the people living in encampments, of course. This morning, our 9 News legal expert Whitney Traylor is here to break this down. Good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning. Sure thing.
This is kind of complicated. So tell us a little bit more about the lawsuit and what the court is considering here.
Yeah, it is complicated, and it's something that the court hasn't looked at in decades. And so it's actually good that we're going to get some law around this issue. And really what happened was in this small town in Oregon, they had a camping ban that was imposed even if there were no shelter beds available. And that's really an issue that a lot of these camping bans are saying, hey, if there's no shelter beds available, then we're not going to impose it. But here it was different, and there was a money fine, and then if there's an increased money fine, and then there could be 30 days in jail. So it is actually criminalizing the status of being homeless. And that was actually one of the legal issues. You're criminalizing a status is what Justice Sotomayor actually argued.
Well, the whole thing, it's hard to understand because you're saying you're homeless. If there's a place for you to go, we get it, then you should go there. But if there's no place, then where are they supposed to go anyway? Right,
and that was really the issue, because if this law passes and is deemed constitutional, then you could see cities across the country doing that. And if all of these cities are saying the same thing, then where are these folks supposed to go? And the conservative justices, their questions were more around, well, how far can this go? What if somebody urinates on public property? Then do we have to just leave them alone as well? So there was this kind of give and take in the argument.
So what is the status of camping bans in Colorado, and how can this ruling impact us here?
Well, it's going to be interesting because the Supreme Court is the supreme law of the land, so it will govern all other courts. But the court could have a very narrow ruling and say, hey, we're just ruling specific to this Oregon statute, and so they could write their opinion in a way that still leaves wiggle room for these other cities. And so here in Colorado, the cities are doing a bunch of different things. Denver, Aurora, Boulder, they're all doing different things. I just read the city attorney's 5-page memo to the Denver Police Department on steps they should take, how they can do this. And essentially in Denver, they're saying, look, if there's not shelter space available, we're not going to impose the ban. But how the court rules here, will have an effect on all the cases, but how much will depend on how the court writes its opinion.
That's kind of my next question. I mean, this is at the Supreme Court, but you're saying they could rule just for this Oregon town, or it could be something far-reaching. What do you think is going to happen here?
It's a good question, and you could see it where it goes on ideological lines, and the conservative justices say, no, we're going to leave this up to the states and the cities, and that's what Justice Kavanaugh said. He said, hey, we don't want to micromanage the local municipalities. And I had a mentor once who said, look, when you have bad law, you argue facts. When you have bad facts, you argue law. And so the sentiment behind that is kind of how our common law system works. So we take a factual scenario, a camping ban, for example, the court rules on it, and then that is imposed on everybody else as it relates to the camping ban. But then if you disagree with the opinion, you try and argue, well, there's factual differences. Here's why this case shouldn't apply to us. So there'll be more litigation on this issue. And the other thing is, we're seeing so many more people experiencing homelessness. It went up 12% from 22 to 23. So this is a major, I think this is the biggest issue we're going to have to deal with as a society and legally moving forward.
Up 12%, I think it is the highest it's ever been in history.
Correct.
And so this is a really small town in Oregon where this stemmed from, but this could really have some big implications, especially here in Colorado. I mean, we've been talking about homeless encampments a lot in recent years, so I'm sure you're going to be paying close attention to it, Whitney. Thank you so much.
Okay.